and you haven't done the follow through, I can't see it. So I have to mark it a 0. Now, if you have anything like that you submitted as a draft, and then you go back, remember, midterm marks are what they are, but if you submitted something, I will still grade it, and then hopefully that'll bring your mark up if you got 0 on those assignments. As long as you submitted the draft on time, then I'll still mark when you do the full follow through on the submission, okay? So please make sure anytime you submit something that it's not left in draft status, but it's actually submitted, fully submitted. I don't know what it is with Blackboard that never used to be like that, but this is a new Blackboard that's come out within the last 6 months or so. So we're kind of getting used to how it works. And so yeah, I just want to be sure that everyone, when you're submitting things, that I can actually see it and grade it, okay? So there's that. What else did we have to talk about? I'm just looking here at the assignments. Your project 2, your ads layout, you're working on that. That is due, today's the 4th, that's due next week. Your Skill Builder 4, we're going to look at that in a moment, or the Skill Builder 3, assignment 4 that I handed out today. That's due on the 18th. So I've given you a couple of weeks to do that. Normally it's 1 week, but we have project 2 due next week. So we're going to, I'm going to give you an extra week on the Skill Builder 3 there. Yeah, assignment 4, Skill Builder 3 due 18th. And then after project 2 and Skill Builder 3 are in, we're at our final project. So that'll be it. That'll be a multi-week project that'll take us into the middle of December and the end of the term. Okay, so a fair bit completed, not too much to go. So you guys are doing well in that regard. So the first thing I want to ask, are there any questions on anything you're working on? I know in week 7, sorry, I keep going back to Blackboard here just for my reference. In week 7, I posted an intro to InDesign tutorial for you. So the playlist was there, the tutorial materials were there. And then this week's Skill Builder also comes with a tutorial. So make sure when you go to the Skill Builder, that would be assignment 4, Skill Builder 3. You'll go there, and I'm just making sure here I give you all of the contents. So in a zip file, the PDF brief, and then the assignment 4 tutorial playlist. And that really walks you through it in detail. Okay, so a fair bit to pay attention to, and really make sure, especially going into the last half of the term, really make sure that you're paying close attention to the handout folders, the details of each assignment. We really want to make sure we get those details, because typically it's the kind of the end of the term when I have to be a little more strict with grading, because we've been doing this for a while now and you've got a skills base behind you. But the projects, they get a little more detailed, especially the final project. And even the skill builders, they have some details. So please really make sure. And if any questions come up, never hesitate to ask me. That's why I'm here. And you shouldn't be left with any unanswered questions about assignments or how to do something. Okay, so never, always email me. And of course, in class, feel free to ask anything you like. Okay, so I'm going to share here. I'm going to share the Skill Builder brief. Okay, so this is the brief that's posted, and we'll go into InDesign in a moment. I'm just going to get my chat there in case any questions come up. So Skill Builder 3, remember these are satisfactory or unsatisfactory. I'm going to admit I've been pretty lenient on the skill builders so far, especially with the composite. You know, some were kind of just dropping an image on. I mean, when I say some, I mean throughout all of my sections, not just yours. And there should be an I there, so that MD. So the skill builders they're satisfactory or unsatisfactory, but throughout the sections I have been a little lenient. So in this final one, I'm going to be a little more strict. Like, for example, the composites, some weren't really a blend. Again, I'm talking all sections here. Some weren't really a blend. They were more like an object placed on an image. So I would kind of make a judgment call there, but now we really want to make sure, especially with InDesign, that the details are being followed. Okay, so and I give you a lot here. I give you a lot of direction. I give you in the brief, the document setup. So all of that is here, step by step, walking you through which tools to use, of course. And then in the tutorial, I do kind of a little bit of an extra, an extra sort of design, like a little more creative. I want to give you some exposure to something a little more interesting than just, you know, this basic text. So the basic text layout is all that you're required to do. But I know many students, they just want to, you know, there's stuff they want to do. There's things they're trying to do. They want to learn. So I like to go that little bit extra so that you can, if you want as well. So you'll see in the tutorial, I set things up a little differently, and we'll look at that in a second. We're getting into some details with InDesign now. I know in the intro tutorial, if you didn't do that with the iceberg article, definitely do that. That's a big one, to introduce you to InDesign and really walk you through some key steps. The steps that I walk you through in those tutorials, in the intro tutorial, they really are kind of the typical things that we do with InDesign. Sort of, you know, it's basic, but it's basic skill sets that you can apply to most things you do with the program. Okay, so we'll look at a couple things today just as review. So please do make sure you go through these details. You have 2 weeks to do this. That's a lot. I walk you through step by step. Okay, so should be pretty easy. But again, you're all learning, so please never hesitate to ask me questions on that. Okay, I'm going to share my InDesign here, and hopefully you can see that okay. And I can see the chat, so remember, if you have any questions, just post them in. And a few things with InDesign. So remember, InDesign is really, its strong point is text setting, like heavy text setting. If we look at something like this, and I have a few things open that I'm using as samples, and I have some projects open here that I can't close. So that's why I have so many tabs. But you're working on your ads. So here we've seen this ad kind of as an example. And where'd it go? So this is really where InDesign has its strength, in text setting. But one thing I have to remember is that when we're using InDesign, I've got a lot of windows here. When we're using InDesign, we're initially linking images in. Remember that when we place an image, it's linking in a preview of that external file. Now we can, if we have a smaller file, you know, this one has a fair number of images in this layout, but we can embed that image. So if I click on that image and I go to links, it's telling me that this file is linked in to that image. If I go to the flyout menu, I can embed that. So what that means is that if I wanted to make that image a part of the file and no longer have to link out to it, I can do that. But we have to remember that in a file that has a lot of images, that's going to be a pretty heavy InDesign file. And that's why InDesign links out to other files, because you're usually doing multi-page documents, often with a lot of images. So when we're doing that, if we embedded them all in, that would be a very heavy file, especially if it's a magazine or a bigger book or something with a lot of images. The file would move slow, and it would be kind of challenging to transport it if necessary between email or whatever. That's why we're able to package our files. So remember, we can actually go to File and Package, and we can collect all components, all linked components, typefaces, the InDesign file itself. We can collect everything into a folder, and that's kind of the storage of everything together. And we do that quite often. If, even though you're working on your own computers, if you're done a project and you just want to wrap it up and store it somewhere and collect everything and not have it, all over your desktop or in other folders, packaging is the best thing to do. Just collect it all, and it's all in one spot. So when we're linking things in, we want to remember also that our images, they are, because they're linked in, they're showing in a low-res preview. So this is something I've received a few questions, and it's typical that I receive this when you're learning InDesign, is that students and new users are asking why every time I open my document, my images are fuzzy and I know they're high res. You probably can't see this right now. Maybe you can, the kind of the pixelation. But we have to remember that it is placing in as a preview. And yeah, when you're working on that page or that layout, you do want to see it in high resolution. That's helpful, especially if you're being quite precise with how text interacts with the image. So you can go to the View menu and down to Display Performance, and it's usually going to open the document in typical display. And that typical display is that low res. Fast display would just be a gray box. And what that means by fast is that it doesn't have to process any imagery as you scroll through the document. So it's quite quick. Typical, low res, and then high quality will make that whole document, all images in it, it will show them in high quality. Now, don't be misled that if you choose high quality, that it's going to turn a low resolution image into high quality. It won't. If it's a low resolution image and we go to high quality, it'll just show it in the best quality of that existing image file. It won't change the image at all. It's just improving the quality of preview that it shows us. So if I choose high quality here, we'll see that image kind of clean up quite nicely. There's one thing with that. When I went to View and I do Display Performance, and high quality, that's doing that image or the whole document. But if I wanted to do that image only, I'm going to go back to the View. So remember, in the View menu, the whole document, all images. If I want to just work on this page, but I don't want to apply that to all of them, I'll click on the image and I'll go to the Object menu and I'll change the Display Performance to high quality. So then I'm only showing that object in high quality for the moment. Okay, so that's something, is a question that comes up often. Some of you may have noticed it. Why are things like not showing clear? That's what it probably is, trusting that you're using high resolution images. Okay, so when we talk about linking things in, I'm going to go back over to this. This is just a demo of the invite that you'll be creating. And you're often going to see errors. So you can see down at the bottom of my screen, there's one error. Whenever you see in InDesign, if you see these little red indicators, I don't know if the Zoom is working for you guys, but you see these little red indicators, that's a bad sign. Anytime you see red indications in InDesign, you probably have an error and there's something that you need to fix. If not while you're working, definitely before you send it to production, before you submit it, before you send it to print, before it goes live, whatever the case may be. You want to make sure that all those errors are cleared. But this one is a very common one. And what this is telling us, that little question mark on the image frame, is telling us that this image the image that is actually linked there is missing. So when it says it's missing, it was placed in, and it was, so we went to File, Place, find the image.